Under the scope.
Hey everybody, Jared and Shane here for another Scope movie review.
You thought we were done with you for the year.
You thought 2015 would be over. You'd hear nothing from us. Well, that could not be further from the truth.
One last piece of business.
And we did it in style. We did the Quentin Tarantino film, Hateful Eight.
The 70mm Roadshow extravaganza.
What does that mean exactly?
So that means that they went and they outfitted 100 theaters across America with 70mm film equipment in order to broadcast, or rather project, this film from a 70mm print. It's a limited engagement.
It's only a real print, Jared.
It's a real film print, and the wear and tear after only 2+ days of airings or screenings is evidence that it is a real film print.
There were big lines going down the edges almost the entire film, almost as if they had bad film stock to start with. It was weird.
So it's a limited engagement. It's only a week or so, and then the proper release will happen, I believe, December 31st, I think.
Sure.
And that'll just be, your standard digital and 35mm presentations. But we got the full 70mm glory with the overture at the beginning, the intermission in the middle, and several extra minutes of slow burn material.
There's a lot of slow burn in this film, let's be honest. Still interesting to watch, but it's a long film, my friend.
It is. It's over 3 hours in our edition. The regular edition is going to be nearly 3 hours. So
wowzers. So
we're special.
We are.
We paid good money.
We paid a lot of money. Jared, tell our viewers or listeners what this film is about. I think it's a cowboy movie, correct?
It takes place in Wyoming, sometime post-war in the 1800s. That is post-Civil War.
Yeah.
And it is about bounty hunters and bounties and the convergence of several people into one location where the bulk of the film takes place.
Yeah. Not unlike some of Quentin's other films in terms of gathering characters, getting them together, and then lighting the fuse, essentially.
So we've got Kurt Russell as a bounty hunter. He's known as the hangman because he likes to bring his callers in alive and actually watch them hang.
If you have DVA, which stands for Dead versus Alive, Jared, he goes for the A.
He does.
Because he doesn't want to jip.
He didn't. Hangman's
doesn't want to rip off the hangman.
Too.
They gotta
Hangman's got to make a living too.
Yep.
You've got Samuel L. Jackson as a major. I forget all their names.
Yeah, there's just a lot of characters.
Major someone.
We'll call him Mr. Pink.
He's another bounty hunter. He's bringing in some bounties too. And I forgot to say, Kurt Russell's character is bringing in Daisy somebody.
Daisy Fuentes.
No, gosh, Domergue is how they pronounce it for the bulk of the film.
Yep.
Is that Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Jennifer Jason Leigh playing a very unglamorous role.
Right. She's dirty, she's bloodied, she's got a black eye, she gets progressively bloodier as the film goes on.
She's got nasty teeth.
Nasty teeth.
Some missing, some there.
We've got OB, the stagecoach driver, is not played by anyone that I recognize.
I didn't recognize him, nope.
And then at some point they stop off at Minnie's Haberdashery, which I believe is just a little kind of waypoint where you can grab some coffee and some food.
Yep.
Um,
Put your horses in the stable for a bit.
We meet up with the rest of our cast. We've got Damian Bashir as Senior Bob.
I didn't know who that was.
Michael Madsen as John Gage.
Yep.
Tim Roth as Oswaldo.
Oswaldo, not just Oswald, but you throw the O on there.
He is ostensibly the hangman. Oh, I forget. Along the way, they before they get to Minnie Haberdashery, they meet up with Walton Goggins, who plays the erstwhile new sheriff of Red Rock, is the town they're heading towards.
Yep.
But conveniently, there is a blizzard, and they're not going to make it, so they have to stop at Minnie's Haberdashery.
Yes.
So, the crux of the story is that Daisy is a prisoner of Kurt Russell, and she's worth $10,000, and so he's
a lot of money
going
in those days.
He's not letting her out of his sight until he turns her in and watches her hang and gets his payoff. And so she's often cuffed to him throughout the film. And so everyone meets up at Minnie's Haberdashery, and then the slow burn begins as people try to suss out who knows who, whose motivations are what. Certain things are revealed to us, the audience, that are not revealed to other characters. And everything sort of spirals from there.
Yes. It's a question of who is going to stay true to their word, whose word is true at all, who wants the money from the bounty.
Mm-hmm.
Are people going to profit from this? And then let the fireworks fly, Jared.
Indeed.
So, oof. So it is typical Quentin Tarantino. It's written in his voice. It is filmed in his vision.
And
100%.
literally his voice is there to narrate at occasions.
To bring you back from the intermission, which was kind of odd, but with Quentin Tarantino, odd often works, and it did work. It worked. The first 110 minutes of this film or so was not all that action-packed.
No, it's like we said. It's the characters all sort of feeling out who's who and what's what and who might double-cross the other people and all that kind of stuff. Until inevitably something goes down and we break for intermission, and then we come back and deal with the fallout from that.
The repercussions. I don't think we need to spoil this film.
No.
Because it'd be really hard to explain anyway. There's a lot of trickery and tomfoolery going around here on the haberdashery. So,
suffice to say, very few characters are what they seem.
Yes, which makes sense, right? Makes sense. So, what did you think of this, Jared? I mean, you are a bigger Quentin Tarantino fan than I am, perhaps.
Okay.
Not that I'm not a fan, but you've seen all his films. You've seen all his pictures. Did this stand up to the high bar that he set in other films?
It's I overall I quite enjoyed it. You mentioned as we were leaving that it didn't feel as long as it was. I mean, at over 3 hours, including all of the extra presentational stuff. It's a long film, and you're going to be there for a while. So, but it didn't feel like it. I mean, these are slow burn scenes for the most part. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of atmosphere. A lot of men being men and posturing.
Yep.
But I guess your mileage is going to vary depending on how much you like Quentin Tarantino's dialogue.
Yes.
It's right here.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because a lot of these scenes rely on that style of dialogue. Fun turns of phrases. There's a lot of period stuff here, but there's also dialogue that feels like it's a little bit more modern. He doesn't stay completely faithful.
No.
To the era.
And a lot of play about race. I don't know as much. I don't know if it's as much central to the story as it is Django Unchained, or maybe it's just different. But if that's definitely something that is a component to the film.
Yeah, that part he did stay true to the era. There's a lot of N-bombs getting dropped.
Yes. And other things.
But that's typical of Quentin's dialogue. So if that's something about his scripts that you don't like, and you're not going to like this one either.
Sure.
But it's hard to say that it's not gratuitous because it is of the era.
Yeah, but it still feels gratuitous.
It is.
Thank you.
It is used an awful lot here. So we're now parked and we can talk freely.
Whew, finally.
But I, for the most part, I really enjoyed the dialogue. I enjoyed the performances. If you're a Samuel L. Jackson fan, you're going to get your money's worth out of this because he's probably the main character, I guess. Even though Kurt Russell, could also be co-lead for a good chunk of it.
Yeah. Sam Jackson, very compelling. I would not at all be surprised if there's Oscar talk for him in this one or nomination. He's that good.
Yeah.
Even if he is sort of playing that Sam Jackson guy who's got it together, but he's angry.
At the same
but he's still very good.
You get what you pay for with Sam Jackson. You when you hire him, you want
this guy here doing this thing.
Unless you're M. Night Shyamalan, you're gonna throw him in a wheelchair and make him all weird.
And even then,
he's shown through.
He pulls that hair off.
I think for the most part, there are a couple of weaker spots in the performances. Channing Tatum's in the credits, so there's no surprise that he's in the film. He's okay.
Yep.
But he's not great. I wasn't blown away by Michael Madsen.
Yeah,
Michael Madsen's kind of a buddy of Tarantino's, and he's been in a number of his films, so it's not that surprising that he shows up. But I think when he's lined up against a Kurt Russell and a Samuel L. Jackson and a Tim Roth and a Bruce Dern, who we just didn't mention until now, and everyone else, he's not quite at their level, and it kind of,
and maybe that role, the role wasn't as pronounced as some of the other ones. He was sort of the characters in the the haberdashery or whatever you call it. He was sort of the underwritten one, I would say. Like, you didn't really get his story as much as the other one.
Yeah, he's sort of set up as the quiet, mysterious guy in the corner, just kind of minding his business until people poke at him.
Yep, that's exactly it. But visually, Jared, I mean, the sense of doom and gloom,
right?
You know, within this blizzard world that Quentin really did a good job of capturing. I mean, it just felt like a terrible place to be.
Yep, the snow is coming down. You've got,
and we know terrible snow, and it felt terrible.
You've got this soundtrack written by Ennio Morricone, the legendary spaghetti western scorist. Scorist, is that a word? I just made it up.
Sure. I will say he's legendary, but I'm not as.
I mean, if you've seen any of the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns or stuff, I mean, I'm not fully conversant on all of his works, but I've heard it, and I really enjoyed his contribution to this film. But yeah, there's a lot of, you kind of get this sense of foreboding because there's a lot of scenes of hard charging stagecoaches going through the snow, trying to reach safe harbor before the blizzard catches up to them.
Absolutely. So
and then we go indoors, and I mean, 70 millimeter maybe is overkill for the indoor stuff, but
it's a fun little play.
I think it's interesting because it is super wide, and since we're in this kind of one room building, you get a lot of width and a lot of kind of peaks on the edges of what maybe other people might be up to. So I think overall the 70 mil widescreen format does work.
There's one major act of interest in this film that happens that sort of sets the balls in motion, and I wonder if we knew what we were looking for, if you could actually see it happening, rather than it being explained after the intermission.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah.
So for the people that go see this film, pay very close attention to the end of the first part of the film, because you might see something.
Possibly.
So, Jared, let's take a second to collect ourselves, and we will see what score we give this film.
The Scope score is 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. Jared pointed out it is the same score as The Force Awakens.
That we gave it.
that. Maybe we would give Force Awakens a little higher score after seeing it again.
Yeah, I think you and I agree. We both liked it better.
Yeah.
Subsequent viewings, but
so that's probably a film that we enjoyed more, but this still is a solid Quentin Tarantino
very different film.
Yeah, completely different. This is a film of Oscar aspirations in a typical Oscar world, whereas Star Wars is its own different film that might get Oscar recognition, but not typical.
So as we wrap it up, real quick question: the 70 millimeter Roadshow presentation, worth it? Does the film benefit from this, or is it just all about nothing? Is it just marketing?
I think it sets a mood.
Okay,
I mean, it
agree.
sets a mood in terms of what to expect. I mean, I suppose back in the day, if you were to see a spaghetti western, maybe it would have been filmed like this, perhaps.
Perhaps.
So that is what Quentin wanted to do, and he is a type of guy that likes authenticity. He likes things to mimic memories of old and films that he worshipped when he was younger, or even to this day. So in that regard, sure, it absolutely works. Is it necessary?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I think I was struck right away with, because it's probably been a couple of years now since I've seen a proper 30, even a 35 millimeter screening. And we've gotten so used to like rock solid, locked down digital projection where the frame isn't jumping at all. And I initially noticed both flickering, especially in the really bright early scenes, and then just the frame was moving around like it used to. And I mean, you adjust to it, your eyes get used to it again, and you don't really notice it later on. But that coupled with, we saw the scratches on the edges from the film, the film prints degrade, and there's a lot of dust and dirt. And, I was surprised by it. We also remarked that maybe this was intentional. It was intentionally degraded. I'm guessing it probably wasn't, but I think
in 2 days of filming,
the natural degradation is intended, because that is how you would have seen the film back in the day. The film print wouldn't have been pristine. It would have been scratched and dusty and dirty. And it all became part of the presentation, like you said, selling the authenticity and setting it up as if you're seeing something that's older. And just kind of recapturing that moment that is, for the most part, gone in our cinema experience.
Absolutely.
So, there.
Well, thanks for ending it on a deep thought, Jared.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers, tell our watchers, tell our listeners how they can interact with the Scope.
You can like, comment, and subscribe down below, and the best comment will be featured in a 70mm Roadshow extravaganza next Christmas.
All of our video casts, our vidcasts will all be 70mm from now on. It's going to be very difficult to set the camera up right there, but we're going to do it.
We're going to have to hire a crew and probably a crane, and it'll be fun, though. It'll be worth it.
It'll be great.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. That's the key word, 2016. So for Jared, I am Shane. Thanks for watching. We will see you next year. Go Vikings. Washington football team sucks. Bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. Days shall pass as if they were but a moment, and Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying adios. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.